If you got the feeling that November 2025 felt very slow in GTA real estate, I've got news for you. The numbers back it up. Month over month, sales were down more than 18% from last year. At this time, they're down about 15%. We saw markets like Peel and Halton slow down by over 20% from October to November of this year. I've got data for you in this video that's going to break down exactly what happened in November 2025 from a sales perspective, new listings, active inventory, and even prices near the end of the video. So stick with me as we hop into these charts. So as you can see here, sales from last year are down about 15.8%, new listings down just 4%. Then we had active listings up 16.8%, while average prices came down 6.4%. This is a very surface level overview, and like I said, we're going to dive deep into these numbers today, so stick with me for lots of interesting charts as we get right into things. Starting off with the GTA, you can see that sales fell month over month from just over 6,000 in October to just shy of 5,000 in November of 2025. This number differs slightly from what you'll see on the Treb Market Watch data because what I am covering is just the GTA, so from Durham to Halton, North York region, and then down south to Toronto, whereas Treb includes a couple other areas like your Innisfil, Essa, Orangeville that I'm not including in these charts. So here's that GTA drop from just over 6,000 to just shy of 5,000 sales. The freehold market, it was 39.55 in October, down to 32.22 in November. And then on the condo side, went from 2,064 down to 1,694 reported sales. I've broken that down by detached, semis, townhomes, and then we get into the kind of regional breakdowns here as well. And you can see that it's a similar pattern everywhere else. The only difference is that some of these places saw pretty busy Novembers last year relative to even October of this year. So you can see Toronto condos, Durham region, and York region. November 2024 outperformed October 2025, but everywhere saw a big drop off from October of 2025, those orange bars, to November of 2025. I feel like this is a good way to break down those month over month and year over year jumps. So as you can see, the GTA down 18.3% month over month and 14.9% year over year. The freehold side saw a big drop in month over month sales. It's 18.5% drop. Condos saw a bigger year over year jump versus the month over month, but still up close to 18% here. When you get into the detached segment, that segment really slowed down, more so than condos, semis, and townhome markets, down over 20% right across the GTA. Then when you break things down regionally, like I touched on, Peel region down almost 23%, Halton region down almost 21% month over month, and everywhere is down from 20.8% in the Toronto condo market down to, in the Toronto freehold market, down 6% year over year. So those are pretty substantial drops in sales activity. When you look at the GTA as a whole over the last 10 years, the average drop that we're used to seeing is about an 11.3% drop from October sales to November sales. So that's month over month. And like I said, we were down 18.3%. So we're even slowing down more than you'd expect on a seasonally adjusted basis in 2025. Here's another way to look at sales. If we look back at every November going back to 2016, you can see that 2022 and 2023 are still slower than what we're seeing here in 2025, with 4,916 sales reported across the GTA as per Toronto MLS. A far cry from the highs that we saw in 2021, where it was almost 9,000 sales in November. Same as going back to 2016, where it was about 8,600 sales. Even 2020 had a pretty robust sales totals for November. One last look at sales from a year-to-date perspective. So this is from January 1st to November 30th of each year going back to 2016. 2025, while November has been busier than the past two Novembers, we're still on pace to hopefully get to 60,000 sales across the GTA this year. But, well shy of even where we're at in 2023 and 2024 at this point. Bottom line, sales are down more than you'd expect, even seasonally adjusted. When you lump everything in together for the entire year, 2025 is still shaping up to be the slowest year in terms of sales. Now looking at new listings, a similar exercise what we just did with sales, broken down by the GTA, then you get freehold condos, property types, and then regional breakdowns all the way to the right of this chart. The GTA was down from 15,850 new listings in October to just over 11,000 in November of this year. Similar patterns right throughout everywhere else. When we look at those breakdowns on a month over month, those blue bars, and year over year, the orange bars, we can see that new listing activity slowed down right across the board, as you would expect to see at this time of year, falling anywhere from almost 37% in Halton region. And then the smallest drop that we saw from a regional perspective would be Peel region, where new listings were down about 25%. Year over year, you're not seeing as many big changes from a regional perspective. Toronto condo new listings were down almost 13%, and Halton down almost 18%. But everywhere else was either up slightly or right around even. When you go to property types, it was condos that saw the biggest slowdown, as well as townhomes at both at around 11.2 and 12.2%. Here's our November new listings compared to every year since 2016. So that 11,308 is pretty close to the 10-year average. The 10-year average, if you looked at all of these previous years, was 11,116. So from a new listings perspective, not much of note here in terms of November as a month. But when you look at things in terms of year to date again, you can see that 2025 has been the busiest year for new listings at 178,940 new listings entered so far right across the GTA on the MLS. We'll get into the termination expiry date as well. So understand that not all of these new listings are new listings. Some of them have been terminated and put back up onto the markets. That would count as 2 or 3 new listings, depending on how many times you do that exercise. But still, more new listings entered this year than any time over the last 10 years, with 2017 coming in second place. This is a great number to look at the temperature of the market. It's sales as a percentage of new listings. So if you remember, anything from kind of 40 to 60% signifies that bit of a balanced market. If you go under 40%, you are looking at a buyer's market, and over 60%, you are looking at a seller's market. Nowhere across the GTA, whether it's freeholds or condos, have we seen sales as a percentage of new listings go above 60%, whether you're looking at November 2024, October 2025, or November of 2025. But you can see that the freehold market was still tighter than the condo market right across the GTA, with the condo market coming in buyer's territory for sure, both in October and November. The market tightening up just a little bit month over month. On the freehold side, barely buyer's market from this metric here into a balanced market in November for GTA freehold properties. Here's that change month over month and year over year. So month over month, you can see the market did get tighter, but from last year at this time, the market does favor buyers a little more right across the GTA, whether you break that down by the freehold metrics or condo properties. Over on my Twitter and X feed, I do a Monday months of inventory update, and one of the numbers that I touch on is active listings. So let's look at what active listings look like, both the month over month and year over year comparisons in November. And this is according to data that I pulled from the Habistat. You can see that year over year, the GTA is up from about 21,000 active listings at the end of November to just shy of 25,000 listings at the end of November 2025. But it has come down from just shy of 28,000 in October of 2025. And it's a similar pattern whether you're looking at Toronto freehold, Toronto condo, Durham, York, Peel, or Halton regions. Everywhere is seeing inventory up year over year, but down month over month, which you expect to see late in the year in GTA real estate. Here are those changes broken down again. Stick with me. Blue bars are month over month. Orange is year over year. So Toronto freehold properties saw the biggest jump in active listings change. 30% more active inventory this November than there was last November. In the condo market, not so much. Like, are we reaching kind of peak condo inventory? I know we're going to see more new construction completions coming to market and whatnot, but that only jumped by 5.5% year over year. In Durham and York, you had about 20% jumps. In Peel, you had about a 19% jump. And in Halton, it was about a 17% jump year over year when it comes to active listings. At the end of November, going back to 2016, this is by far the most active inventory that we've seen, according to the Habistat. 24,651 active listings. Again, last year was the first time that November actually broke the 20,000 mark, and every year prior, you can see the super tight competitive market of 2021 down here at the 58.13, and 2016, another pretty competitive market, was down here at the 79.47. Months of inventory is another metric to gauge market temperature, and here you're kind of looking between 3 and call it 6% being a balanced market. If it gets tighter than that, you're into seller's market territory, and if it gets over 6, you're getting into buyer's market territory. So we already went through what the sales as a percentage of new listings look like, but when it comes to months of inventory on the freehold side in November 2025, we were at 4.46. That puts us in balanced territory, almost smack in the middle. Condos still over 7 months of inventory across the GTA, according to the Habistat, puts us in buyer's market territory for condos. So nothing really surprising here. And we look at our changes month over month. Months of inventory month over month is up 11% across the GTA, and that's 6.7% on the freehold side and about 26% on the condo side. Whereas year over year, months of inventory is up almost 50% on the freehold side, and 56, 57% on the condo side across the GTA. And just to give you an idea of where months of inventory at the end of November stands compared to the last 10 years, again, 5.37 is definitely the highest reading that we have seen, putting us close to that seller's market territory right across the greater Toronto area. 2023 was the previous high year at 4.19. And then, again, those crazy tight markets of 2021, 2026 around this time with less than 1 month of inventory. I don't see that coming back really anytime soon. Now, we do know that every listing that comes to market does not necessarily sell. You have a couple options. You can sell the property, which is the goal, or if you're not getting the traction you want because your pricing strategy didn't work out, you can terminate that listing and try to relist it, or you just let it sit there and it'll expire. So we're going to look at those terminations and expiries next, which has been a big story in 2025 across the GTA so far as well. Terminations did come down month over month, but we're pretty much across the board seeing that there were more terminations this November than last November, with the exception of that condo market. Here are those changes. So year over year jumps in listing terminations right across the GTA, like I said, except for Toronto condos, which are down 4.7% and down 1.9% in Halton region. But you can see that listing terminations and expiries jumped by almost 21% in the Toronto freehold market, by 17% in York region, by about 16% in Peel, and by about 11 or 12% in Durham. That is telling that in those markets, sellers are not settling for what buyers are offering. They're kind of holding strong to what they want, or they may be trying offer nights a little more frequently that aren't panning out. So they're coming back and relisting kind of more realistic or closer to their expectations. Here's a look at the last 10 years of listing terminations and expiries across the GTA. 2025 is the first time that we saw over 8,000 terminations or expiries in November, and that was up almost 8,700. You can see that 2023 and 2024 are in second and third place. And then before then, you weren't ever seeing it hop over that 7,000 mark. This listings and terminations phenomenon is a relatively new thing in GTA real estate, at least at this scale. And year to date through November 30th, here's what those numbers look like. You can see that in the GTA, we have had over 100,000 listing terminations and expiries in 2025 so far. 2024 coming in second place at just shy of 82,000. And then prior to that, again, we had never seen more than 70,000 to this point in any year since 2016. As a home buyer, you don't want to see terminations and expiries. You want that number to be lower because it means sellers are actually selling, being forced to sell. And hopefully it's as a result of prices coming down to what buyers can afford. I think the two ways this is going to shake out is either prices jump up to what sellers are expecting, or sellers come down to what buyers can actually afford to pay. Then you'll see those terminations and expiries numbers come through. We'll see sales pick up and probably see new listings stay about the same. Maybe active inventory comes down as a result of more inventory actually being absorbed, not coming back to the market. Took us a while to get here, but as I promised, here's our median sale price data. And this one is a step down the ladder. From November 2024, prices were down in October 2025 and down again in November of 2025. And you can pause the video here to take a look at either your property type on the left of the chart or your regional breakdown on the right of the chart. I shared this one over on X or Twitter, and you can see that month over month prices were down anywhere from 1.5% in Halton region, down over 4% in York region. And year over year, our biggest droppers from a geographic perspective were the Toronto freehold market and York region. York region coming in almost 10% year over year median price drop, in the Toronto freehold market almost 9% drop. When you look at property types, it was semis that saw the biggest drop year over year in median prices. That was down 8.7%, townhomes down 8.4%, condos down 7.4%, and detached properties down 7.2%. It's a lot of charts I just threw at you, but I feel like it's a good deep dive into the market. What it's really shaping up to be is still that somewhat of a frozen market, in my opinion. Like, you're seeing historically low sales numbers, historically high listing termination numbers, whereas new listings are staying about even. We're seeing inventory continue to stack up, which means more and more opportunities for buyers, more and more competition for sellers. So like I said, if we want to sell, we got to get right on pricing. If you're looking to buy, I still do not think patience is a bad strategy. Sure, if you see the property that you want to purchase and it fits and it's in your snack bracket, go ahead, protect yourself as much as possible with conditions, but I don't see any signs of a market turnaround. Like I said, historically slow November in 2025, and December is not going to pick up anymore. So let's just be patient with the market, keep our eyes open for opportunities, and keep tuning back in here every single week to get the most recent data-driven updates and insights on the GTA real estate market. Thanks so much for sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.